Once you have your software set up and your chart of accounts imported, you can start posting transactions. Since one of the first things you will need to do is enter your purchases to assemble items for sale, let's start with how you enter those purchases. Before entering receipts, you must set up your inventory items. I've added hardware for now. Watch the inventory video next to see how to set up the 3 different types of inventory items. Now that we have an inventory item to post to, let's enter a purchase. Sometimes, when you make a purchase, you have different items on the same receipt or invoice. These purchases might be for different accounts or a personal item. Code your receipt to apply each purchase to its respective account. Coding refers to looking at each item purchased and assigning it to the appropriate account code. You can subtotal the amounts that go to the same account and post those together. Always code the pre-tax amounts. You will post the tax separately. In this example, I have coded the first item to hardware $15.30. The second item is a personal purchase for $25.68. The remainder of the items are charged to general supplies, $57.10. I subtotaled those to save entering each one individually to the same account. Now that the receipt is coded, we can post it. A quirk I would like to point out is that Sage 50 doesn't let you select the payment method until you choose a supplier. It resets if you select the payment method first. I enter my suppliers by name, but I don't add much else. If you need to look up a supplier a lot, you can enter phone number, website, or email address you use. For the most part, I do quick add. You can now see the supplier in the supplier list. I added American Express as a payment method to the sample company, not MasterCard. So I will use that as the payment method instead of MasterCard. Make sure you select the payment method you used. Sometimes when reconciling an account, a purchase will be missing even though you know you posted it. Check that you didn't enter it into the wrong payment method's account. Use the invoice number if there is one. Otherwise, you need to enter something that you can use as a reference when looking up the receipt. I use the date of purchase, which seems redundant because the date is also added, but it is easy. The purpose of an invoice number is that it is unique, so it is possible that you have more than one purchase at a location on the same date, and if so, you will need to modify the invoice number for the second receipt. You can use whatever system works for you. Always post the actual receipt date. Not only is that legally correct, but it also helps to find the purchase when reconciling the credit card or bank statement later. Enter your purchased items to match the accounts you coded them to. For inventory purchases, you look up the corresponding inventory item. I use the dollar system to post my inventory items, so it is easier to keep my inventory balanced. The actual inventory numbers are tracked individually in the inventory workbook included with the course. In the bookkeeping software, everything is lumped together under one generic inventory item, and it is not practical to track by actual quantity. So for quantity, enter the dollar amount. Here it is $4.97, and then enter the price for $1. This calculates the correct value to $4.97. Add the tax code if you paid tax. If the item wasn't taxed, like privately purchased items, then do not use the tax code. Inventory items are set up to the post to the correct account. Notice how it is posted to $15.30 hardware. Enter the general supplies. I have to choose the account here. The total should reflect the business's expense, not the receipt amount. $98.76 for the business and $26.88 for a personal purchase. The personal amount will not appear on the business's books, but you must watch when reconciling the credit card account because the totals won't match. It is good business management to have separate bank and credit card accounts, but if you don't, this is how you sort the different purchases. You must choose which account to post the freight to if there is a freight charge. I explained the different options in the chart of accounts video. You can also set up early payment discounts in the settings if you get those from a supplier. They can also be entered directly on the purchase invoice too if this is a one-time discount, or enter the discounted amount as the expense if you don't want to track the suppliers. Notice on the receipt that there's a discount on the materials. I chose to enter the discounted amount rather than bother tracking that it was a markdown bundle. Check the report to make sure you posted to the correct accounts. You don't have to do this every time, but it is good practice until you are used to the system and it helps you to understand the debits and credits. You can see the effect the transaction has on your trial balance. Remember to enter any inventory purchases into the inventory workbook if you're using it. Now stamp and file the receipt for your month-end credit card reconciliation. If you do use accounts payable with a supplier, you can go into the banking tab to pay bills to pay that supplier before the invoice due date. You can look up your previous purchases by supplier or by invoice. That is about all there is to entering purchases. Next, we'll look at inventory and services.